You know, the TCL 6 series gets a lot of press, but what about the TCL 5 series? How come nobody talks about that? Well, probably because it's never really been a notable TV until now. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Caleb Dennison, and today we're reviewing the TCL 5 Series TV, a TV that has a bunch of specs on the box that used to be on the 6 Series last year. So the hope, at least, is that this TV might offer that kind of performance, but at a lower price. We're going to find out. Normally, we would do a big unboxing, but since this TV is so similar to the 6 Series and really all of TCL's TVs, we're going to skip that part and get to the good stuff. But if you want to check it out, it's right up there. Now, let's do this. So first impressions on this TV is that it is way thinner than I expected, especially for a TV that has full array local dimming. And there's virtually zero bezels on this TV. You just have a little aluminum strip along the bottom, and the feet are very thin as well. And a quick note there, they don't have to be this spread apart. You can actually mount them a little bit closer to the center for a smaller footprint if you want. Let's turn to the back and talk about the HDMI inputs. These are not HDMI 2.1 inputs, so you're not going to be getting variable refresh rate out of this TV. You're certainly not going to be getting 4K at 120 Hertz. You can do 4K up to 60 Hertz. And that's going to be fine for most folks. Like, this TV may not be built for next-gen gaming, but it's still a good TV to consider for casual gaming because it has a really, really low input lag. Now a quick word on the remote and the operating system. With the remote, you lose voice control. That's just not available at the 5 Series. With the operating system, and this is not unique to the 5 Series TV, but Roku did a little bit of an update, and it has a slightly refreshed feel to it. The setup process was a little bit easier with the Roku app, and then also it got HomeKit and AirPlay too, so keep that in mind. Now let's just get right down to picture quality, which, as you can see, has some admirable attributes. It has really good black levels, this television. Part of that is the VA panel, which unfortunately means that off-angle viewing is not great. But it's also owed to the local dimming on this particular TV, which is definitely doing a good job of not crushing blacks, but offering deep blacks and minimizing any kind of blooming or halo effects that you might get from lesser backlighting systems. Unfortunately, that backlighting system does not mean really high peak brightness. So we're seeing barely a difference between SDR peak brightness and HDR peak brightness, whether that's HDR10 or Dolby Vision. In fact, one could call into question whether you would actually call this an HDR TV, because there's not enough brightness to really give you those sparkly highlights. The contrast is there, but the peak brightness is not there to make the HDR images pop as much as we would see on other TVs. That may not be a huge deal. We'll get back to that in a second. I will say, though, that the color on this TV does benefit from the use of quantum dots. So you're getting a wider color gamut. You're just not getting a hugely increased color volume versus a non-HDR TV. So keep that in mind. This TV also does pretty well with motion. It's got a 120 Hertz panel, so it's going to be pretty decent for sports. There is just a tiny little bit of motion blur with fast objects, but it's not something that you see very easily. I think watching sports, it's going to be great. As for film content, 24 frame per second content looks very smooth. Not much stutter or judder happening there, which again, really good for a TV at this price point. As for sound quality, well, let me put it this way. Get yourself a sound bar. This TV does not have the greatest sound. There's a lack of depth, not a whole lot of bass going on here, so it has sort of a tinny feel to it. And I would worry about dialogue clarity too. So a sound bar is going to be key with this TV. Fortunately, they're not that expensive, and you can get a really good one for not a lot of money. Now let's talk about gaming for a second. Earlier I said this TV doesn't have HDMI 2.1 ports, so it's not going to be supporting variable refresh rate or some of the other fancier features like 4K at 120 Hertz. It just doesn't do that. But at 4K 60, it's just fine. Like I said, it does have low input lag. I think the only real knock goes back to the picture quality overall, which is that if you're gonna get anything out of the HDR gaming experience, you're gonna need a slightly brighter TV. However, if you're a much more casual gamer, you only play every once in a while, and you really just play to have fun, it's not about the visual effect, then this TV is perfectly suitable for that kind of thing. And that kind of takes me to my final point. This is a good TV. It's a solid television. Is it an overachiever? No, it's not. Is it trying to be like the 6 Series was last year? No, it's not, but it's definitely a step up from what the 5 Series was last year. Look, I think this TV is going to appeal to anyone who just needs a solid television, who isn't looking to get blown away, who isn't super picky about picture quality, and just wants to enjoy what they're seeing on the screen. This thing does a lot of things right. The black levels are impressive. It's just not a super juiced, bright television. So it does not bring HDR home in a meaningful way. I think that's all right. You probably know somebody who has not been exposed to HDR and may not recognize it if they were. Let's keep things in perspective and not overthink this review, not overthink this particular TV. The TCL 5 Series has a lot of competition out there in this price range that does not perform as well as this does. So on that note, I think TCL is actually nailing it. This mid-level price point with mid-level performance is exactly what a lot of people need. Thanks as always for watching, everybody. Do you know somebody for whom the TCL 5 Series would be the right fit? Hit me with a comment down below. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and while you're here, here's 2 other videos I picked just for you.